Hi everybody, I'm Joey Paul and I'm an indie author and welcome back to my channel. I write young adult fiction across a variety of genres, and if you think that might interest you then think about subscribing below. I also have a Ko-fi shop with signed paperback and swag which you can also find below. One thing that writers will often talk about is the tropes they have in their stories. While some tropes can be seen as overdone, they are also a way to let readers know that this is a story that they will enjoy. Obviously, there are harmful tropes, and the only thing I can say there is to do your research, and if it's something that you have no experience with, such as LGBTQ, disability, race, etc., then employ sensitivity readers to avoid giving a harmful experience. So let's talk about what goes into choosing your tropes. Number 1. Think about what you like. While it may take you a while to think about what you like about a certain story, a lot of the time it's the twists and tropes that pull you in. They're familiar, they allow you to have some kind of relatable experience with the story, and they are, as I said, a good way to know that you're going to attract your readers. When some people think of tropes, I think they're always drawn to the romance genre ones, like enemies to lovers or forced proximity, but all fiction and all genres have their own tropes. While I go into writing a story, I might not always know the tropes ahead of time. Like, I might have some idea that I don't want to do something like The Chosen One, but that doesn't mean that I will also know the exact tropes that I want to pull off. Of course, I'm not really much of a planner, so take that with a grain of salt, but if you're a planner, my advice when thinking up your story and plot and outlining and such is to really think about what you'd like to see trope-wise. That can guide you. You should, hopefully as a reader, have some kind of experience with that trope, and so you can see how it's been done before and maybe even work out how to put your own spin on things. Like, as a crime writer, I knew that I didn't want to overuse the serial killer trope because it always annoyed me in series when they were constantly after a serial killer, especially since it's such a rare thing in real life. So I steered away from it by a couple of my books. But that's the beauty of tropes. Everyone likes different things. So for me or for you, one thing might be a nope, but for someone else, they eat it up. So start with what you like and go from there. Number 2, remember the genre expectations. I say this because there are always going to be some rules and such when it comes to what genre you're writing. I plan to do a video later in the month about choosing your genre, but if you go into it knowing that you're going to write, say, a romance, then you should also know that there is a rule that the romance has to end with the couple together in either a happy ever after or a happy for now, and there is no getting away from this. If you write a romance book where the MC or love interest dies at the end, guess what? It's not a romance, it's a tragedy. There are other expectations from other genres, but I think you get the point. When it comes to choosing those tropes, be sure that you stay within the rules of the genre. Like, I've done both paranormal mystery and urban fantasy, and both have some overlap, but there are certain tropes and other factors that will help you decide if your story is one or the other. It might not be clear cut, but you can usually find out where it's best to lean into. Number 3, don't overload your story. So you've got all these ideas about tropes for your story, like 10 or more of them, and you're sitting down to write, and suddenly your book is like 200k words because for everything to work out, you really need to write basically 3 or 4 novels to complete it. This is why people try and avoid putting too many tropes in one story. Overloading can work in some very rare cases, but you shouldn't start off there. It's the same with genre. While your book can be 2 or 3 genres, when it starts crossing into more than that, you've probably overloaded your story and in the process will overload your readers. Yes, it can be done well, but maybe don't start there. Maybe get some stories under your belt and start working out how things are going to come together before throwing in another 10 tropes. It's a delicate balancing act, but it's important to remember to learn to walk before you can run. And number 4, subverting is very much an option. I've mentioned before about how there are some tropes that are both overdone or others that you personally won't like. Sometimes the way you use those tropes is to subvert them and make the reader think this thing is going to happen, as with the trope, and then turn it on its head. While yes, it isn't easy, it can be a very good way to put a different spin on things and also breathe life into a tired and overused trope. Be careful doing this, but it is something you can do, and it's also a refreshing change to see a trope that you may not have known was going to be in the book turned on its head and bring about a completely different outcome. So there we go, that's basically my thoughts and tips when it comes to choosing your tropes. Like I said, don't choose like 20 of them for the same book because you will be there for ages and you'll be having subplots that don't really work because there's too many of them. While there are some books that have a lot of tropes, usually it's about 2, 3, 4 maybe, and then it starts to get too many. It's the same with subplots. You shouldn't have like 16 different subplots because then it starts to get too many for both you as the writer to keep track of and the reader to keep track of as well. So how do you go about choosing your tropes? What's your favourite trope? Let me know in the comments down below. So that's all I got time for today. If you want to support my channel, you can comment, like, or subscribe. I post new videos on Thursdays. You can find me all over social media and my books are available everywhere. You can also support me in my Ko-fi shop and you can also sign up for my newsletter. And don't forget to pre-order Translucent, which is the second in a young adult dystopian quartet. And if you do pre-order, don't forget to grab the swag. And also don't forget to grab a ticket for Wonderland in Nottingham in July, where I'll be signing books. All the links for which are listed below. Thanks for watching and remember to keep writing. Bye.